Hey, what's up, everybody? Can you guys hear my audio pretty good?
Yes, I
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Thank you.
we
Thank you.
can.
All right. So let's get started. This is Touchpix. This is beginners to Touchpix. My name is DJ. I'm basically a kind of a brand ambassador for Touchpix. I work for Touchpix, do the support side of Touchpix, and do the webinars on Wednesday. I got my co-part here on the call as well. She will be taking care of the questions in the chat room. I'm gonna let her introduce herself as I take just a couple extra minutes to set some stuff up on my side. Tia?
Hey everyone, I am Tia. I am a member of the Touchpix team. If you are a member of the Facebook user group, you see me posting updates, different kind of awareness items as it pertains to Touchpix. I also manage our social media platforms, and I will also be managing the chat and answering your questions within the chat. We like to have the webinars run as smooth as possible. So to avoid any interruptions, please put your question in the chat. And then periodically, DJ will open it up for live questions. At that moment, you can take the opportunity to ask your live questions, but please, to avoid interruptions, please go ahead and put your questions in the chat, and I'll go ahead and knock those out for you. So welcome to tonight's webinar. I also put an overview of what we will be covering tonight in the chat, as well as some other resources. I do see that we have some additional people join us, so I'll go ahead and repost those items.
Yeah, thank you, Tia. Tia does a phenomenal job with the chat, phenomenal job with social media and letting you guys know what we're going to be talking about. You know, Touchpix, just to give you a brief overview, this app hasn't been around too long. It's been around for about a couple of years now. And it quickly emerged as the top iOS 360 slow motion photo booth app or video booth app, for lack of a better term. So it's been around for a couple of years. It started initially as a photo booth app for iPad units, and it quickly just kind of went into this high frenzy where 360 became popular, and Touchpix was equipped with the technology and the know-how on how to execute 360 events. So what I'm going to do is just kind of go over a brief overview. I do want to give some tips today. You know, I do want to highlight some what I consider pro tips for all our users that are jumping on board. And I just kind of want to be able to share some information with you guys that I consider pretty valuable, especially if you're new and you're brand new in the industry. You don't know that many people that may be wanting to help you or assist you. You're doing a lot of research, and the best way is to actually dive in and get hands-on with certain things. But along the way, you're going to find things that work, and you're going to find things that don't work. You know, some stuff may work great for me, and some stuff you may have a different style than me. You may choose your own workflow. And with that being said, I want to be able to kind of share with you guys some of my findings and some stuff that I prepare for when I do events. And since I also work the support line with Tia, we get a lot of calls on the weekend specifically. And I'm actually amazed that there's people out there who purchase the app and have no idea on how to operate it and are already charging for events. And they're extremely frustrated because they think because it's an app, it's supposed to be doing everything for them. And they're finding that it's not that easy, right? There needs to be some preparation. At the end of the day, this is a business. You're charging people money. And what I want to go into in saying this with that is that because you're charging people money, you got to also be professional and be prepared. You got to prepare yourself. You got to use a lot of your experience, trial and error, to be able to execute that job. And I think that's what we're seeing in the 360 world right now. There's just so many different quality or different levels of quality. And we want to be able to educate you and hopefully guide you in the best scenario possible where you're going to make the most out of the tips that you get from us and kind of develop your own style. By no means do I say like, follow every single thing that I do, because my style may be a lot different than you or than yours. But what I want you to understand is that, you're going to develop your own style, but we want to prepare you on how to get there and how should you prepare for an event. So I'm going to start off this webinar. I am going to go into how to create an event, but over the last couple of weeks, we've been getting a lot of calls regarding GoPro issues or GoPro connectivity issues. And I want to be able to give you guys the tips so you guys can prepare for that. In a lot of these situations, they're quick troubleshooting techniques that we recommend. By no means are we the only app suffering from GoPro connectivity. There's other apps, even on the PC side, that suffer with GoPro connectivity issues. And that's all based on the wireless connection that is typically mounted from your GoPro onto whatever device it is that you're connected to. However, it does happen from time to time, and you got to be prepared on how to troubleshoot that. It's hard to do it on while you're at an event and you're stressed out and your anxiety level is at over 100%, and you don't want to hear anything that the support team is telling you. You just want it fixed. So this is kind of why we're starting this webinar in this fashion. That way, when we upload this recording onto YouTube, I'm hoping other people jump on and take advantage of some of these tips that we provide. Okay. Along the way, I will open it up for questions, but right now I definitely want to show you some of the troubleshooting techniques that we've developed and something that will get you up and going no matter what regarding your GoPro. Right now in front of me, I do have a GoPro 7 and I do have a GoPro 10 that I will be showing you. Hopefully I can make the connection on both. I'm going to see if I actually have the Quick app loaded onto this device. Let me see. If not, I'm going to have to download it briefly. But there is some major tips that I want to share. One of the things is be prepared. Always be prepared for an event. I don't know how you guys prepare. What I would recommend is start off with a checklist of what you need. I'm going to show you kind of a brief picture of how I prepare for my events. And this is a very inexpensive way to kind of get yourself organized and making sure that your checklist is checked off before you leave doing an event. I'm going to show you a picture of my gear bag. This is actually my camera bag, right? In my camera bag, as you can see, I have a GoPro 10 that I use. I also have a GoPro 7. I also have a DSLR. Really depends what type of event I'm going to be using. And I have two iPhones. One's an 11 and one's a 12. And they both have what we call smart rig cages on them that mount into any quarter 20 adapter that you may have ready. I also have extra iPhone mounts in the event that something malfunctions or breaks on me, because some of these are made out of plastic. And I also have some ball mounts. I don't have any ball mounts pictured in this picture, but I have ball mounts packed into this bag, right? As you can see, I also have my ScanPix router. It's a small router. I have it tucked in here. I have extra batteries in the event that I need batteries for my DSLR. This bag has a lot of pockets, right? Definitely has a lot of pockets. It's not a big bag. It's a small bag, but it's my gig gear bag, right? If you're a professional, I definitely recommend, you spend about, I think this bag was about $80. Wasn't too expensive. And it has a lot of padding for cameras, and you're able to travel with this and just get organized. Aside from this is you have a lot of pockets for wires, USB-C cables. As you can see, I'm going to show you a different picture from a different angle. This bag also has a pocket for my iPad, right? I have it tucked away. This kind of, I could actually fit two iPads into this pocket if I really wanted to, and I sometimes do. But I have pockets for iPads. That way everything is kind of concise. And this will give you a better idea how big the bag is. This picture right here. So this is a small backpack. In these smaller pockets here is where I have most of my wires. I didn't take a picture of them, but you get the idea. I just want to teach you guys how to get organized. I think organization is key. on a lot of the stuff that you do. You know, often than not, I'm still driving down the road and I'm going down the mental checklist, making sure that I have my batteries. I do have backup batteries. I do have cables to make sure that everything works great. As a professional, when you come into the industry, you know, these are some things that get overlooked. Whether you don't have enough money to buy multiple items, whether you're starting off, it's always good to kind of envision where your business is going to be scaling into and be prepared. Even professional photo booths that don't do 360s, they have emergency bags that have similar equipment. I don't expect you guys to have backup items for everything, but you should at least have one backup device, even if it's just an iPhone, right? I don't expect you to have 2 or 3 GoPros. I don't expect you to have DSLRs. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this since 2013. I've been doing 360s before it became popular. I was piecing software together back then, and it was a little more tricky back then to actually make it happen. But you know, I've been doing the 360 game for quite some time. Obviously, now that it's popular, everybody's making software for it, and everything is, you know, everything's a little easier. I keep on hearing that my audio is going out. Is that the case?
Yeah, DJ, your audio is going in and out.
Okay, let me switch over to a different Wi-Fi. Give me a sec here. And hopefully this works better. Like I said, even in that bag, since I have that bag right next to me, I do have a hotspot. And I'm going to go ahead and log into my hotspot right now. And that should improve the audio. You guys have any questions with regards to preparation and what I just covered real quick? How many of you guys do that now? Anybody? Anybody want to share?
I'm trying to get there, but what is probably, you would say, the most thing you would need far as like hardware as a backup?
Yeah, I would say if you have an iPhone and then you're using a GoPro, I think your iPhone is a great backup source. I don't expect you to have everything that I have here. It's just that I've been doing it for so long that I've been picking up new equipment along the way. And some of my older equipment becomes backup. I'm going to switch networks right now, so I may cut out briefly. Let me give it a shot. Okay, now I'm in a different network. Hopefully my audio no longer stutters. So yeah, so as long as you have one GoPro, maybe one iPhone and an iPad sharing station, I think you'll be fine, right? Because if you're using a GoPro, if that fails for whatever reason, you can always pivot over to the iPhone. And the chances of 2 devices failing at the same time is very highly unlikely. But if you're able to get, you know, a separate iPhone or a separate GoPro, then by all means, go ahead and do that.
I actually meant far as like your machine, because I noticed that you said you have 2 ball mounts. Like, what is something that you would think that goes out pretty frequently just off of wear and tear? Something that, you know, we should definitely have.
Yeah, so it really depends. The machines are the hardware pieces of what Touchpix uses. You know, I know a lot of people have different brands. I would suggest what I've seen in the groups, a lot of people struggle with are the arms breaking off, right? If you can afford an extra arm, by all means, go ahead and get an extra arm, right? Or they're called monopods for a lot of normal machines. I think some machines that are made in China, they have like special adapters so they could be mounted. But you know, if you have a monopod and some gaff tape, that'll get you through a lot, right? Gaff tape will get you through a lot if you're really in a pinch. But be prepared. You know,
Yeah.
those are the items that'll get you through. As far as motors and stuff like that, you guys should know your machine. You guys should know whether you guys are able to pop the belt off and it becomes manual or not, right? A lot of things are tricky, and this is what a lot of people kind of overlook because it's technology. Technology isn't perfect. Sometimes it works great, and we love it when it works great, but we hate it when things are going wrong. And I'm not here to say Touchpix is perfect, but it also works just as good as your other hardware, right? So if you get a lot of bouncing on your video, that may have to do with your spinner, not necessarily Touchpix, right? If they work in uniform, then that's when you have a recipe for success and everything's going to be looking great. You'll have phenomenal output. So those are some of the things that I would recommend. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up my camera. That way you guys can see kind of my little setup here. Give me one quick second. It's connecting right now. Okay, so you guys are able to see my camera right now. Perfect. So I got two GoPros here. They're just mounted on these tripod stands, but the way we recommend GoPros with iPhones are like this. A lot of people buy a GoPro. This is on the left here. This is a GoPro 10. This is a GoPro 7. Okay, the GoPro 10 is probably the better GoPro in the sense of it's the latest model. It uses a different file format that transfers the file over to your phone for processing a lot quicker than your normal GoPro 7. We do recommend anything above, for GoPro, we recommend a 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. My personal preference would be if you can afford a GoPro 10, grab a GoPro 10, right? They're just, the picture quality is just great on that. Make sure it's the black edition because they do make GoPros that are, I think, I don't know if they're white and then there's silver and black. You do need the black edition. The reason why I say the black edition is because the black edition is the GoPro that's equipped to record in slow motion, okay? So I'm gonna go over a couple of brief troubleshooting techniques in the event that your camera is not connecting to your GoPro, right? People panic and I wanna go ahead and help you guys. I want to alleviate that panic because there's some simple techniques that you can do from both of your devices. So let's start with the actual GoPro. If it's not connecting, right? The GoPro 7 connects a little differently to the iPhone than the GoPro 10. But there may be some situations where you're going to want to try both methods if you're really struggling. What I mean troubleshooting, I don't want you to spend 5-10 minutes trying to get this up and going. Once you're comfortable doing this, it should take you maybe at least 2-3 minutes tops to get this up and going again. It's just people get anxious when they're having some issues out there because
DJ, your sound went out again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, so people panic a lot and I just want to alleviate that panic because these techniques here are going to be, they're proven to work. I've used them myself and I just think with repetition, you guys will definitely figure out how to navigate through certain situations. First thing I need you to recognize, I'm going to use this GoPro here as an example real quick. This is a GoPro 7. I'm trying to see if the autofocus is going to be working. And you know what? Let me turn on the light. Give me one quick second, just so I can have a little better focus on that. Perfect. So this is a GoPro 7, okay? First and foremost, the GoPro 7s, they're all pretty similar. With Touchpix, we don't recommend that you leave a battery inside your GoPro. I know a lot of people that have never been told that, and I do see in the groups and the forums saying, well, my battery only lasts about an hour and I have to keep on disconnecting and switching over. What we recommend is you buy a cage. They sell these cages here on Amazon for your GoPro, right? You remove the side door from your GoPro, right? And by removing the side door, you have access to a USB-C plug, right? What you all want to do now is remove the actual GoPro battery. You don't want the battery in there. What you want to power the GoPro with is a USB-C cable and a power bank. In this case, I'm using a bigger one because I'm powering both these GoPros. But let me show you what I really use on my arm, okay? Give me one sec. I use this little battery right here. It's super small. It's probably the size of the GoPro, so that way you can see it to scale. It has 2 USB inputs, and I either Velcro it to the side of the arm or the bottom of the arm and run the cable down. But this will power your GoPro. It will exceed 4 hours of use, this little battery. You don't have to worry about switching batteries out, okay? That's tip number one. Get yourself a cage, get yourself a USB cable, and get yourself a battery, okay? Once you're working with the GoPro, you're obviously gonna turn the GoPro on. It has a toggle button on the side here to switch modes, and you wanna make sure that it's on video mode. If you look at that GoPro screen, you see that little video icon there? That means it's on video mode. The actual GoPro settings that you want to get into are the following. If you look at this GoPro here, you see numbers right at the bottom of the screen. And those numbers say 1080 by 120, right? 1080 is your 1080 pixels and 120 is your frames per second. That's exactly where you want to be with this GoPro, right? If you're not there, what you need to do is tap on these numbers and it'll actually take you to a setting of where you can make that happen, right? In this case, I tapped on it and it's taking me to, if I want 4K, 2.7K, or 1080. I want 1080, okay? Don't have it set to 2.7 or 4K because you may have some app issues. Those files are extremely large, okay? And the other thing that you wanna play around with, and this is all preference here, is the very top right hand corner of the GoPro. It says 16 by 9. You can barely see that on this picture, but it does have a little box that says 16 by 9. That's basically your landscape mode. If you were to click on that and you want a different orientation, like a 4x3 box, you can switch it over. I want 16 by 9. So I'm going to click on it one more time and it's back. There's a little delay here. Okay. So moving forward with the next process for the GoPro, what you need to do with the GoPro now is with your fingers, a lot of swiping that you need to do with the GoPro to establish the connection. So with the GoPro 7, what you need to do is swipe down, or let me go back here. Once you swipe down, you're taken to preferences. So you're going to tap on preferences. And I'm just going to go through some of these connections here. I'm going to see if I can zoom a little bit better. So you're taking to where it says connections. I'm just going to tap on connections. You're making sure that your wireless connection is on. One of the biggest things that I've noticed is people leave it at the default setting. And under connections, under Wi-Fi band, you get two choices. And actually the default setting is 5 gigahertz. 5 gigahertz is a faster speed, right? However, we recommend you put it on 2.4. Why do we do that? Well, although 5 gigahertz is a faster connection speed, the 2.4 gigahertz setting is meant for longer distance. That means that your GoPro and whatever device is controlling it can be further apart from one another. We like that setting based on the fact that you won't run into disconnection issues, because if you have it on the 5 gigahertz setting, sometimes it'll disconnect because 5 gigahertz is not meant for long range. It's meant for speed, but for short distances. Okay, so I'm hoping you guys can still follow. If you're having trouble connecting with your GoPro, make sure that these are the steps that you follow. Check your Wi-Fi band, right? But the easiest and the number one thing that I would ask you guys to do would be right on your GoPro, you'll see this option that says reset connection. A lot of this time, this will actually remedy your connection. You can reset your GoPro by hitting reset, right? So that would be my number one troubleshooting technique. Go into your GoPro, make sure that your Wi-Fi band is connected to 2.4 and reset your GoPro connection. The other option that I would recommend you do is in the preferences area, if you scroll all the way down and go over to reset, you can actually format your SD card, which is also what's recommended. It's quick and easy. It'll format your SD card. Mind you, I do want to say this, if you format your SD card, whatever shots you've captured within that day may get erased, okay? So this should be used with caution, and this should be a kind of a last case scenario. The last case scenario should be a factory reset, right? These steps here will take you no longer than 2 to 3 minutes. Actually, it'll take you about a minute or 30 seconds once you know what you're doing. If you're brand new and you're following this video, it'll take you about 3 minutes to figure out, right? So that's all you do with the camera, right? So now you're gonna wanna know, well, now what do I do, DJ? How do I connect, right? So with the GoPro 7, it works something like this. I'm gonna try to grab my other device here. I have another iPhone. Let me jump into Touchpix. I'm actually gonna do a quick little trial mode. So let's see if it works with that. Okay. So the first thing you're going to want to do now to make a connection with your GoPro 7, if you have a 7, you're going to go in, you're going to swipe down. Let me make sure I also have the Quick app on installed here, because you do need the Quick app with your GoPro 6 or 7. Okay, it's updating. I guess I had an old version. So what you need to do is swipe down till you hit preferences. You're going to click on preferences. And then you're going to go into where it says connections. Once you reach connections, what you're going to want to do is hit connect device through the GoPro app. It'll give you an option. Once you see this screen, you're good to go, okay? Once you see this screen, you're good to go. You're going to want to go over to your GoPro app on your phone. I'm going to open it up now. And what I want to do, it's giving me a lot of advertisements. Give me a sec here. I'm going to click GoPro at the bottom, hit dismiss. And I see a little camera icon right above here. That's what I want to tap just to make sure I'm looking for the right camera. It says it found the camera. Now I want to pair my GoPro. Hit pair. You hear my GoPro beep. It says successful. It's been successfully paired. I want to leave it at the stock name. A lot of people choose to change the name. I find that that is sometimes a cause of some unnecessary issues. So leave it whatever the stock name is. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to hit let's go. And it's basically connected. So what I want to do now is go into Touchpix, go into settings. I'm sorry, I'm going to go over to camera. And I'm going to select GoPro. For people using the GoPro 6 or 7, you do need to enable the GoPro toggle that says GoPro 7 and lower. And then you're going to want to hit connect to GoPro, which is basically it's already connected. Let's see if it works. I want to go over it one more time. I'm going to turn this off. That way you guys can see, because I did establish a connection, but I should have done it through the GoPro side of things instead of the app. Let me just turn it off and on. Okay, so I just turned it off. Turn it back on. Okay, once it's boots back on, I'm going to swipe down, go to preferences, connections, connect device through the GoPro app. Now I'm going to go over to Touchpix. camera, connect to GoPro. Give me a sec here. Went over to the quick app. It wants me to update, but I'm not going to do it right now. Still connecting. It's asking me to join the network. Okay, so now I can see the live view, right? Now, if I run my hand over the GoPro screen, I could see the live view. Perfect. So now, without closing out the app, I want to go into Touchpix. I just want to minimize it, right? So I'm going back into Touchpix. And I'm not sure if I can do this under test mode. Oh, I could do it under test mode. So here we go. And it's recording. I'm just running my hand right in front of it. And it's good to go. So now it's gonna do video playback. You guys have any questions with the process on how to do this? Does this make sense for a lot of you? I'm not trying to confuse you, but I'm just hoping that this makes a lot of sense.
Yes, it do.
Okay, cool. So there's the demo mode there. So again, if you're at an event, this is a little pop quiz. I've never done pop quizzes on a webinar before, and you're having issues connecting. What would be the first thing you guys try to do to alleviate anxiety and make sure you guys are up and going with your GoPro?
Use your iPhone.
What was that?
Use your iPhone.
Yeah. So if you do have an iPhone and you don't want to hassle with your GoPro, you switch over to the iPhone. No problem with that. If you want to remain with the GoPro, what's the first step? Okay, reformat. Great. Anything else? Remember, make sure that it's at 2.4 gigahertz. And last but not least, worst case scenario is reset the connection. One other item that I wanted to show you, if that still doesn't work for you, because one of those will work for you, but in the event that there's extreme circumstances for whatever reason, sometimes when people are downloading the Touchpix app, they do it rapidly. So once you download the Touchpix app at the beginning, there's always these pop-ups that pop up that say press OK or agree to these terms. Well, some people do it so quick that they may hit cancel on one of those terms, right? And if you hit cancel, for example, when you're installing, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to exit test mode, exit test event. And I'm going to go back in here and hit 360 spinner. Well, it didn't ask me this time, but what you need to make sure is the following. On your phone, your general phone, maybe I can show you with the actual app. Give me 1 second here. I'll do that instead. That seems to be easier. On your actual phone, I'm going to go ahead and click 360 spinner there. You see that pop up? A lot of people, when you download Touchpix for the first time, you guys go so fast that you forget to press OK. You may hit don't allow. Well, that's going to mess you up, right? Because it's asking for access to control your local network. Your local network on your phone means it's your Wi-Fi that is used to communicate with your GoPro. So if you ever hit don't allow, you're going to have to do this manually or delete the app and reinstall it again and give it permission. So you're going to want to hit OK for the camera access, hit OK for Bluetooth. Make sure you give it full permissions for microphone and even your camera roll, because it uses your camera roll as a backup to store all your files. But in the event that you messed up and you didn't install it right, another good place to look is under your general settings here, right? You're going to want to scroll down all the way down. There's two sections where I would suggest you look. One section would be under the Touchpix app. Let me move this icon real quick. You see this Touchpix app down here under your general settings? So if all of these are green, you're good to go. That means you gave Touchpix permission for photos, Bluetooth, local network, microphone, or camera, right? So make sure that that's all enabled. A lot of people even struggle with the sharing station because they forgot to enable the local network here. So that's a quick tip. Hopefully you guys can remember that. The other area that I would suggest to look at is under privacy. Let me see, under privacy, you can look under privacy. I'm trying to see if we have under camera. Sometimes people forget to enable Touchpix under the camera for camera action. This is kind of less common. I'd go to the other route first to make sure you gave it permission. But at the very last case scenario, this is probably the last tip here that I would give you if you're struggling with making the connection with your phone. Is again, I'm going to bring you from the beginning. Is go over to your settings, and from settings, you're going to want to go down to I think it's general. Let's go over to general. Here we go. So once you go over to general, you see this option here at the bottom next to shutdown. It says transfer or reset iPhone. You're going to want to click on transfer or reset iPhone, right? You're not going to erase all content. A lot of people really get they get nervous about when they see that, which I would too, probably. So especially when you guys are on the call and you guys are like, I'm trying to guide you through these steps. You're going to want to go through with the top option that says reset. And what you want to reset only is your network settings. That'll definitely help you guys out tremendously. Those are quick troubleshooting techniques. I know where they're at because I've been working with the app for quite some time. As a new user, I would just say, look, follow this video in the event that you run into any issues with the GoPro. If you, more than likely, the first two steps I showed you is going to fix them. Anything else, if you really don't have the patience to deal with it at that time, then just use your iPhone. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to share. That's what I wanted to start off this webinar with, and I'll definitely leave some room for questions if you guys have the questions right now. I showed you the 7. Did you guys want to see how I connect the GoPro 10, or it's very similar? Or I can
go
move
for
on.
it, DJ.
Okay, here we go.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm going to turn off, let me go back into my camera settings here. I'm going to turn this one off here.
Sorry, DJ, will we have time for other questions towards the?
Yeah, we'll have time. I'm gonna go through. I'm not gonna go through the Apple TV today. I'm not really gonna touch on ScamPix today either. This is more a concise webinar. I wanted people to know how to navigate through their GoPro settings, to feel confident about going so, and how to create an event. I think there's tons of other YouTube videos that I've created where if you do need help with ScamPix, you can revert to that. Or if you need help with the Apple TV, you can revert to those, but you'll definitely have some time. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn this one off. This is the GoPro 10. It's powering off. Let's see if I could zoom in as well. I'm going to power it back on. All right. Are you guys still able to hear me fine? Yes. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I just turned on my GoPro 10. The thing with the GoPro 10 that I've noticed, and it's probably something that hasn't been shared enough in the group, is the GoPro 10 is the faster unit. The way you access the settings is a little different, but there's also a setting on the GoPro 10 that I would recommend you guys turn off. Right now, the way it's connected, I'm going to try to zoom in there, is you see the main screen. It says it's on video mode, it's on standard. I do have it set to 1080 by 120, right? I do have it on the wide angle lens, which is something that I like to use. If you do more landscape, I'm sorry, not landscape, but vertical shots, you can actually switch that to a more vertical friendly setting. A lot of people use the, let me see, you can do the standard, but a lot of people use the, let me see if I can find it. I don't shoot a lot of vertical shots, but if you do, you can play with the settings here. Mine's on wide. I use, you can do linear. Linear will give you a better lens for your vertical shot if that's something that you're into, right? But I'm going to leave it at wide for now, just for this purpose. But you can change your lens types. This is what's cool about that specific GoPro. Right now, it's set to a setting that I'm not comfortable with. So I'm going to do standard. Again, 1080, 120, right? The setting that I want you guys to turn off, because it's not a Touchpix limitation, but it's a GoPro limitation. The stabilization, the stable boost, you need to turn that off, right? If you leave the stable boost on, what it does on the Boomerang, you're gonna see like a jitter in your video. No matter how smooth your platform is, it has to do with the way the GoPro processes that that file with that image stabilization on. So turn it off and you'll be fine. That's the only tip that I'm going to give you for the 10 with regards to how that works. The 10 works the same way. You buy a cage for it, plug it in with the USB, right? The reason why I really love the 10 is because out of all the GoPros, or the ones that I own at least, you actually have a live view. Your live view is right in front of the GoPro, right? That's your live view right there. You see my hand right there on the screen? And that's perfect. So when you're framing your guests on the 360 platform, you can actually see whether or not they're going to be in shot or not. So that's why I like the 10 as well, because it has that front camera and you can always dim the back camera. But as far as making the connection is very similar. Let me see if I can get it going with this other iPhone. That way you guys can see. I'm going to go ahead and hit Touchpix. I'm going to go over to camera. Oops. And for this one, you just need to toggle over to GoPro. You don't need to use the enable with GoPro situation toggle on the top. You're just going to hit connect to GoPro. It actually is detecting both of my GoPros right now, but I know that my top GoPro is the 1291. So it's asking to join the network. I'm going to hit join. And it's good to go. It's connected to it says connected to the GoPro, if you guys can see that, right? So I know that the connection is going to be solid. I'm going to click start. You're going to hear the beep on that specific GoPro. You see it kick on. Just doing 3, 2, 1. Just going to run my hand through it. This is just recording a default video. If you're using an external battery, you're always going to get this alert at the beginning. Don't be alarmed. It only happens once. Cold battery alert. That's when you plug it into a power brick like I did. It's just a warning, but it only happens at the very first session that you do. So right now it's processing the file. It's shooting the file over to the iPhone. And I'm going to show you kind of how to navigate through some of these settings once you see that playback real quick. So it's adding audio, and now it's going to do the playback. There it is. Okay. So now that you saw that, in the event that you're troubleshooting this specific GoPro here, it's a little different from the 7 in the sense that I think instead of flicking down, I think this one's to the side, or actually to the side brings it to the modes. So it is flick down to the side. Once you flick down to the side, the menu looks a little different because it's a newer model, obviously. I'm going to walk you through the quick settings real quick. Hit connections. Wireless connection is on. Make sure that the Wi-Fi band is set to 2.4. You can actually reset the connection here if that's what you want to do. I'm not doing it now, but that's a quick little step there. Or you can go into preferences. From preferences, what you can do is go over to reset. From reset, you can format the SD card or just reset the entire camera. But these steps will get you through any of the difficulties that you guys have. I just went through this process right now and it took me less than 20 seconds to access the menu. Again, I'm just going to do it one more time. That way you guys can see how quick it is. Right. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back out. Yeah. So what you do with the brand new GoPro is the following. You're going to, sorry, it's falling here. Give me a sec. Let me adjust it. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and flick down and to the right, you go into connections, but preferences is probably the quickest. From preferences, you go to general. You can actually control your LEDs here. But you can go all the way to where it's to the bottom to where it says reset, format SD card, or you can just reset your camera and you should be good to go, right? If that doesn't work, then reset your network on your phone and the connection should happen, no problem, right? Don't feel, don't get super anxious. We offer support 7 days a week. These are the troubleshooting steps that we're going to walk you through. And it's always good just to write them down and have a little checklist, you know, in the event that a connection happens. Sometimes the connections like these happen because there's just a lot of wireless connections around that specific venue. Maybe everybody's working off the 2.4 gigahertz. You can still run it off the 5 gigahertz. Don't be scared to switch it over. I'm just from experience, I've always ran it with 2.4 and with no issues. The places that have had a lot of disconnections for me in the past are places when I'm doing bridal shows or big exhibit places where there's a lot of connections everywhere, right? And I just tend to switch it over to 5 gigahertz and it works, right? So don't be scared of going into your camera settings. Does that make sense? Cool. All right, what I want to do now is dive into Touchpix, go over the general overview of Touchpix and what you can do with it. Give me one quick second here. I'm going to change screens. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay, so this is the Touchpix website. For people that are brand new with Touchpix, this is where you're going to live about 90% of the time in creating your event. I'm going to go over a couple things with Touchpix because Touchpix is not only a photo booth software, it's also a 360 based software. And I'm guessing you guys are here for the 360 side because that's been the popular side for over a year now. Our pricing structure is as follows. This pricing structure, you can buy the app online through the App Store. I will show you that as I set up an event. And the way you do that is you download the app. you hit the subscriptions tab and it's going to give you 3 options. $50 a week will give you a weekly subscription. You can activate unlimited events, which means that if you have 4, 5, 6, 7 events, you can run them all. You can't run them at the same time in the sense if you have one device, you can't run more than one event at a time per device. If you have an iPhone, if you have an iPad, and you have more iOS devices, then yes, you can run as many events as possible as long as you have those devices that can run them, right? So $50 a week will give you your subscription. It'll give you the access to text, to share your content, to brand your content. Um, it's meant for people that are brand new in the industry that you don't have a established clientele yet. It's meant for people that are trying to just see how they can benefit from their 360 spinner and how they're going to scale up their business. This price here should never be out of pocket. This price here, if you're new to the business, you should be able to incorporate it into your rental fees. Okay, so never feel like you're out of pocket. Incorporate your prices into your rental fees. It makes the most financial sense as you're scaling up your business. Remember, when I say subscription, subscription means it's a subscription app. Just like Netflix, just like Apple Pay, just like Spotify, you got to tell the app when you want to use it, but you have to tell the app when you want to stop using it, because the subscription plan will keep auto charging your account if you don't turn it off. And I will show you how to do that as we go on through the webinar. The next plan is the $140 a month plan. This is for people that are a little bit more established, that are being or are getting booked frequently, especially in the summertime. Now that business is picking up, this may make better sense for you. It has a little bit of a cost savings, and you're able to use it as frequently as possible, just like the weekly. Again, this is $140, and our yearly goes for $9.99. This is for the established businesses that have not only 360 based booths, but also have iPad booths that they may be doing drop-off units. They may be doing roamers. Roamers are booths that people walk around with at events, and they take pictures. It's kind of like a ring light, a walking ring light with an iPad inside, and they're mobile pictures. So those are great. But the yearly package is focused for a more established business who has a lot of events, and they're taking advantage of the discount because it's more cost effective. This here goes on sale about 3 times a year. It goes on sale for Black Friday. It drops down to $7.99. It goes on sale for our Photo Booth Expo in Las Vegas, which we take part of every year. It's in late February. If you haven't heard about it, research it. I think everybody's got to go to Photo Booth Expo. Everybody who is someone in the industry, as far as manufacturer or software, exhibits out there, and you can get your hands on these products and try them out yourself, right? So it goes on sale for $7.99, and we will be exhibiting next month in Chicago. We will be at the Marquee DJ show in Chicago. I don't know if it's going to go down to $7.99. I know for sure it's going to be $8.99, but we haven't really had a team meeting to discuss pricing for the Marquee. We want people to be excited at our Photo Booth Expo and Black Friday sales as well, but usually if we drop it too much for the same price, it's not that appealing for people. But know that this will be going on sale soon. These are your packages. What you need to do if you don't have an account with Touchpix, you first got to download the app. The second thing you do is up here on the website under touchpix.com, you're going to want to hit login. Under login, if you don't have an account, you're going to want to register. Register with your name. This is the important part, and I just urge people to pay attention to this next part here, because we do get a lot of calls for the support team. If you're brand new to the industry, please register with an Apple ID email address that's not your personal one, right? Because in the event that when you do scale up your business and you may want to hire attendants to run your booths, right? You don't want them to have access to your personal information from your personal Apple ID or iCloud account. Create a business Apple ID that you can log in and log off out of, and only use Touchpix under the business side of things. So register with first and last name and create a independent Apple ID that's just for your business. That way you don't have your personal information being dragged along with your business information. When you scale up, it becomes a little bit of a headache and trying to separate both if you don't have them separated at that time. Okay. Once you register, it's going to send you an email to whatever email address you registered with, and you create a password, and then you're going to log in. And once you log in, it's going to take you to what we call a dashboard, right? These are where my events live, right? And right up here on this tab, there's going to be a couple of things that you're going to be paying attention to. We're going to do create an event. There's two options. We're going to create a custom event or create an event from a preset. I'm going to touch on the preset method briefly. The preset is meant for you to get up and go very quickly within 3 clicks. I don't really like teaching this way. I want you guys to learn it from scratch. That way you guys are comfortable operating with Touchpix. This is more of a cheat code, and the settings are set to default. You're going to get Touchpix branding and Touchpix music. And in order for you to change that, you're going to have to go back in there and manually change it anyways. So this is why I like to teach creating a custom event from scratch. But this is if you're in a pinch and you just need to get up and go and you want an event to be set for you, you may want to use some of these presets, okay? Really depends on your spinner. A lot of people have manuals. A lot of people have automatics. Some people use a TV as a slideshow. Some people don't. So it really depends on your settings. So from this point, we're going to create a custom event, and we're going to start creating an event with Touchpix. What Touchpix is, it's basically a form. You're telling the software what features you want to activate, right? It's going to take me a little bit to go over this form, but it doesn't take nearly as long when you're well versed with the software. It should take you maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes at the most. Right now, because I'm going to be explaining every single piece, it's going to take a little long, but let's dive into it. Name your event. I'm going to name this event webinar, and I'm going to give it today's date. Right? This is just for you, the creator of this event, to know which event you're creating. That doesn't serve any other purpose besides letting you know what event you created. Right? It's more for organization. Language is English. Country of origin is the USA. If you're outside the USA, please put the appropriate country of origin, because that may affect the way text messages are being sent. Okay. Countdown. When we get down to countdown, like any other photo booth, if you go into a booth and you hit start, you're going to have a countdown before it actually takes a picture or starts recording. For 360 slow motion, I suggest you lower your countdown to 2, right? Meaning that when you hit start, it'll do a quick 2-second countdown, then it'll start recording. So even if you think 2 seconds is too long, you can still either increase the time or decrease the time, whatever you feel your workflow is going to be, best. Beep sound just means that for every countdown second, you're going to hear an auditory sound. This really doesn't matter if it's enabled or disabled. Typically, when you're at an event, it's loud anyways, and chances of you hearing a beep is probably not going to happen. But that's what it means. It just means for every second, you're going to hear a beep from your phone or your iPad. The mirror overlay preview, I'm going to deselect it. It's not needed. This is a photo booth feature. This feature is for when you're using it as a photo booth and you stand in front of the live view. And when you're standing in front of the live view, sometimes if you're on the right side, if you have the mirror effect, it'll look like you're on the left side. But for 360 photo booths, you don't need it, leave it disabled. As we scroll down this list, we're going to look at what we recommend as devices. We recommend iPhone 11, 12, or 13, right, as your video capture devices. What I mean by that is your recording devices, we recommend iPhones. We don't really recommend the iPads because they're too big. A lot of them don't have the ultra wide lens, And chances are that if your iPad falls from the arm, it's going to break and you're going to be pretty pissed off. So we always recommend get a nice iPhone 11, 12, or 13. Doesn't matter what submodel, it can be the basic, Pro, or Pro Max. They all have the identical camera. The reason why we recommend those iPhones is because it has the ultra wide lens and it's capable of recording in true slow motion at a 1080 at 120 frames per second. Okay, so if you're going to be using an iPhone to capture, we always capture with the rear camera. We never capture with the front camera. The rear camera is a superior camera compared to the front camera. That's the camera that is capable of recording at real slow motion. Okay, if you're using a GoPro, the GoPros we recommend are 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Any of those models you will be okay with. Again, the black edition, because the black edition is what records at slow motion. Okay, in this case, we're going to go through a setup process for an iPhone, but I can show you exactly the extra step, which you just saw, on how to connect your GoPro. So if I'm using an iPhone, I'm going to be using the rear camera, so that's checked off. The camera exposure menu, right? When you buy a platform, a lot of people have already spent thousands of dollars on buying a 360 platform. Sometimes you overlook, and now I need an iPad, now I need a GoPro, now I need an iPhone, and sometimes the lighting is not that high of a priority, and you only buy maybe 1 or 2 lights at a time. The camera exposure will help you in the sense that if you don't have adequate lighting, it'll give you access to your iPhone settings or your GoPro settings, or in this case, your iPhone settings, on how to adjust your ISO or your exposure. That way it doesn't look too dark. A common question I get is, what's better, an iPhone or a GoPro? It really comes down to preference, and it really comes down to how well you light your subject. If you have great lighting, your iPhone is great, right? If your lighting lacks, or you have what's considered cheap lighting, then the GoPro is a little bit more forgiving, because the low light sensor on the GoPro is better than the iPhone. So those are things to consider when you're using this app. They both work great under great lighting, but some of them are more forgiving than others, like the GoPro. QR app protection, leave this disabled. This is not relevant to 360. It's meant for people who rent out photo booths and do drop-off units. By enabling this, it prevents the user from accessing the settings into the app. It's going to ask them to scan the QR code to gain access to the settings. It's more of a security feature. So leave it disabled. It's not needed for 360. As we scroll down, we're in the printing section. Because it's a photo booth software, it prints. But since we're using it for 360, we want to make sure we tell the software we're not printing, or else it's going to delay the processing time and it's going to be looking for a printer. So please let it know that it's not printing anything. As we scroll down, now we're here where it says functions. This is where you're telling the software what you're doing with the software. I'm not doing photos. I'm not doing boomerangs. I'm not doing GIFs. I'm not doing videos and Slo-Mo. A lot of people ask me what the difference is between videos and Slo-Mo. Well, the video function of Touchpix is really meant for when people do iPad booths. Sometimes they do like a video confession booth, specifically for the bride and groom, or sometimes it's kind of a congratulatory booth where somebody just taps a video and you do an actual video recording saying, hey, Tim and Mary, congratulations on your wedding day. And, it's kind of a creative way to also give them, their guest book in a video format. That's not what we're doing here. We want slow motion. We want the Slo-Mo functions to be operational. So we're only clicking slow motion. Right down here is Slo-Mo recording time. By the way, if you hover next to any question mark, it's going to give you a little explanation of what that feature does. The default setting is 4.5 recording, which means it's going to record for 4.5 seconds. It doesn't mean that the output is going to be 4.5 seconds. It just means that 4.5 is the default. Some people like it there. Some people increase it a little bit. You know, the majority of people use 4.5 to 5 seconds. It really depends, you know, how long you want your video. This will generate about a, you know, 15-second video. If you add a promotional outro video, you know, it can be anywhere from, you know, 25 seconds even at the very end. So it really depends on your style and how long you want to process your files and how long you want your output to be. So for this, I'm going to leave it at 4.5. That's kind of what we recommend. That's why it's set at default. The Slo-Mo boomerang effect, it's actually a very cool effect. Once it processes your video, and first it records it, then it processes, it'll do a video playback. And once it reaches the video playback, if you have Slo-Mo boomerang enabled, it'll play that video in reverse order. It's a boomerang effect, so it'll play forward and backwards. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that on. That's pretty popular for slow motion. The add audio file, this is one of 3 places where you can add audio. You can actually add audio from your web, from the computer, from the web. This is what it takes. It takes an MP3 file and it can't exceed 512 megabytes, right? People often ask, well, I pay for Apple Music. How do I load an Apple Music track? First of all, I want to show you how to do things correctly. I don't want people to get into any legal trouble, but if you pay for Apple Music, you're paying for Apple Music for personal use. Once you use it as a business, you know, the terms and conditions then change. Plus, Apple Music does not give you MP3 files. They do that for a reason. The main reason is pirate. They copyright their products, and their format is M4U. It's not MP3. So you're going to have to get creative on how to obtain MP3 files. And Tia put a whole bunch of resources of where you can obtain MP3 files on the internet without having to do stuff illegally. But I'm here to tell you, you can use any MP3 file as long as you have an MP3 file. Okay, so in this case, if you do have a audio file, the first thing that I would suggest you do, that I should have started with too, is I'm setting up this event from my desktop. This is my computer desktop here. I'm hoping you guys can see it. Wait, no, you can't. This is my computer desktop here. I use a PC, but you can use a Mac. As long as it's a PC or a Mac and it's not a Chromebook or your iPad, I would suggest you create a folder on your desktop. In that folder, I would suggest you put your music tracks if you already have them, put your logo for your company if you already have them, and if you paid somebody to design your artwork, you're going to dump it all into this folder. It's just for organizational skills. So when you're setting up your event and I click choose file, I already have it set to Touchpix file, so it's automatically going to open it. But once you point it for the first time, you have to tell it, okay, well, I want this folder, Touchpix files. And from now on, it's always going to open in this specific folder. So if I want to use this trap MP3, I'm going to hit open. Now it says trap right up here, which means it loaded fine. Okay. This second section here, screen flash, is a photo booth function. Don't worry about this, leave it off. As we scroll down, we're in the area that's called timeouts. These numbers represent the number of seconds. Typically, the number of seconds for these functions, like editing, thank you screen, or a prop screen, are meant for the photo booth side of Touchpix. Editing will let you edit props, drawing on the picture. Props has its own as well. But we're not worried about that. We want to be able to do sessions as quickly as possible. So I would recommend that you put a value of 0 on editing. You put a value of 0 on thank you. You put a value of 0 on props. And you leave the sharing portion at 12. Sharing is important. You're going to need to allow people enough time to input their email or their phone number without it timing out on them. So leave it at 12. 12 is perfect. As long as this is at 12 and everything's at 0, you will be fine. As we scroll down, now it's going to ask you to input your sharing options. Typically, I use email. I don't use Facebook. I will use WhatsApp. SMS is text messaging. I don't use Twitter. I don't use copy, and I'll leave everything else active. So let me explain to you why I don't use some of the stuff, and let me explain to you what WhatsApp is and the rest of the functions. Email is pretty self-explanatory. Facebook and Twitter I don't use because Touchpix is considered a third-party app to them. They're not going to give you access without the user typing in their full Facebook email address and password. And a lot of people don't know what that is. So text and email is easy because once they get that content onto their phone, they can upload it onto their own social media platforms, right? WhatsApp is a keypad, just like text messaging. This is popular for international guests. Sometimes a lot of guests, or this is kind of an uprise. A lot of people use WhatsApp just as much as texting. It just gives you a keypad and you'll be able to send it via text or through WhatsApp. The download button is very important. The download button must be checked off. The reason I say this is because Touchpix doesn't send you the actual video via text. Touchpix sends you a link of where to access the video. So Touchpix is a cloud-based app. Once you do have good internet and you upload it onto the cloud and the person uses text as an option, they'll receive a hyperlink, right? And for the iPhone users, if you click on the hyperlink on any website, more than likely, if you're not an advanced iPhone user, you use the Safari web browser. The Safari web browser doesn't give you a download button. So by clicking download here, this forces the Safari web browser to have a download button for that specific link. So always make sure that this is checked off. Airdrop is pretty self-explanatory. It's an iPhone protocol or a Mac protocol. So if your users have capability of sharing Airdrop, it's probably the quickest and fastest way. And you don't need internet connectivity for this type of sharing with Airdrop. The drawback with that is it's only good for iPhone users. The Android users will need something completely different. They're going to need to share it via email or text, or they can share it via QR code. But with QR code, email, or text, you're going to need a reliable internet connection for that share to actually happen. The beauty of Touchpix is even if you don't have internet, you can still run an event. And if a person runs over to the sharing station and types in their text message and there's no internet, it's going to memorize the video and that phone number. So when you get back to your home office or a location where you have better internet connection, it dumps out the text messages at that time. It memorizes. It's called the queue system. Remembers the phone number and video, and it dumps them out in the order it was received. General, this is a creative way of sharing. You can do iChat, you can do Messenger or Instagram if you set it up that way. So this is what I would recommend to start with, to play with. Like I said, I'm not interested in an edit screen. This is for if you hover over it, it's to draw, add filters. Not interested in that for video. This is very important here. The in-app gallery, leave it checked on. This is what's going to control your sharing station and your ability to share. This will give you your sharing icons to appear on your actual device, okay? Depending on the functions that you select, you can customize the message. And right now it has a pretty generic default photo booth, but you can put your photo booth company name here. So when a person receives an email, it'll say it's coming from your specific company, and you can change the text received in that email. Right now, it has Touchpix. You can change that out to your specific company, right? I usually use the same message on all 4 squares here, right? So I'm going to leave it as is, but I would just recommend that whatever message you're going to stick with, use it for all 4 squares. The only thing that I would suggest is under the text message box, don't use any special characters. Don't use the pound, don't use the @ You can use a phone number, but don't use any of the dashes, right? Just put in your phone number all together, okay, without any special characters. Same thing with the web gallery. You can customize it to your liking. Like I said, I use the same text on all 4 of these boxes. As we scroll down, we're in the prop area. This is a photo booth app again. We're not interested in using props, so I'm going to leave it at no props. And we're scrolling down to the branding area. The branding area is pretty important because this is where you can actually set yourself apart with certain things. You can put your company name here. And these are the areas where you can brand your brand with Touchpix, right? So if you pay attention to the accepted file types, it says JPEG, PNG, and it gives you a size, right? A tip, I will always work with PNG files because your artwork is going to have to be in the PNG format anyways. And I think PNG files, if you stick with one file format, you know, you're never going to make, well, I'm not going to say never, but it's going to be harder for you to make a mistake moving forward because everything's under one format. Instead of you having a logo that's a JPEG, a background that's an MP4, and, you know, another background that's a PNG, you know, you can't mix and match because it's easier for you to, well, you can mix and match, but it's easier for you to make mistakes. So stick with PNG if you can. So in this case, app logo, look what happens when I click on choose file. It automatically takes me to that folder that I pointed it to from the beginning. And I'm pretending that this Instagram logo is my business logo. It's a PNG file. I'm hovering over it and it's telling me it's a PNG file. The size is 640 by 640 in pixels. Don't exceed over 3000 by 3000. I think anything between 3000 by 3000 pixels is fine. The size here is not even 1 megabyte, so I'm good. So I'm going to select that here. I like to use the same logo in all 3 locations. So the app logo, whatever file you load here is going to appear on your sharing station. And if you use an Apple TV as a slideshow, it's also going to show the same file on your Apple TV for branding purposes, okay? The app background, whatever file you stick here, I'm going to be using the same file again. Whatever file you put in here is going to appear on your iPad or your iPhone behind the Touchpix controls. So this can be your business logo. You know, it can be anything really, but it gives you an idea of, you know, where that file is applied. It's behind the Touchpix controls on your iOS device. And whatever file you input on the last web gallery section, I'm still going to use the same one. When you hand your client a link to their web gallery, it's going to have your logo on the background. It gives them more of a professional touch, and it's not going to have like a generic Touchpix logo. It'll have your logo in the background, like it's coming strictly from you, because it is. Again, make sure that they're PNG files. If you want to experiment with other files, go ahead and do so, but I recommend you stick with PNG. A track screen, I'm going to just kind of explain briefly what that is. A track screen just means that it's meant to attract people. A track screens can be a picture, can be something moving. It can be an MP4 video. For example, if you're doing a wedding, it can be a video, an animation of the bride and groom. And this attract screen for 360 only pops up when your photo booth or your video booth is not being used. So maybe you're having a break because they're cutting the cake or they're doing the toast. The attract screen will kick on after a certain amount of minutes just to attract people to the location. If you have a moving file, it's people can notice, people use colors. It really depends. I'm not using one. You don't have to use one, but I just wanted to explain to you that that's what it is. It's just an attract screen. To exit the attract screen when it pops up on your screen, all you got to do is tap on the screen and you go back to the normal functions. It's almost like a screensaver. If your logo happens to have a white background and you do use like a JPEG, then you're going to have to change the text and the button color to something other than white. So you're going to click on this white box and you're going to change your text and buttons to like red, right? That way it's not camouflaged and you're able to read, the functions or the buttons. In my case, I know my background's not white, so I'm going to leave it white. And we're towards the end of the list here. Triggers, I'm going to explain what motion trigger is. I've used it, really a preference type of thing. If people are using their iPhones on their 360 platforms, their iPhones have a built-in GPS sensor, right? If you have an automatic spinner and you click start, if you enable motion trigger, once it starts spinning, the software will detect that it's being moved and it'll start the countdown process, then it'll start recording, right? So it's kind of like a sensor to start once it detects that it's being moved. Some people like it, some people don't. You really have to play around with it if that's something that you want to do. Other than that, you're going to have to tap the phone screen start and then hit start on your remote if you have an automatic spinner. I'm going to leave it off for the purposes of this webinar. And the last function here is the external screen. A lot of people want to show a slideshow, or people that have an iPhone that want to do live view screen record. You can do that with this. If you enable it, the way this communicates, you can do it a couple different ways. You can communicate a slideshow with an Apple TV box. An Apple TV box is similar to your Amazon Fire Stick or your Google Chromecast, but it's just made by Apple. It's something that plugs into a TV via HDMI. You don't need internet if you're going to do a slideshow, because your iPhone will communicate with the Apple TV box based on their Apple to Apple technology. And you're able to either you get two choices. You can do an external session, which means that it'll record the live view recording from your phone so your guests can see themselves being recorded. Some people like it, some people don't, because I guess the pros is that it looks good for the crowd. The cons is that people on the platform will not look at the camera and will start looking at the TV instead of the camera, because they want to see themselves being recorded. And sometimes that looks a little off. But if you don't want to do that, you can hit slideshow and it'll utilize your Apple TV to play all the slideshow videos from that specific event. It'll start playing them in order, basically. If you enable the QR carousel, this means that after every video, you'll see a QR code underneath the video or next to the video, where the guest can now scan the QR code and share that file to themselves without having to go to a sharing station. This works great if you have great internet, if you have good internet, right? If you don't have good internet, you might not want to activate the QR carousel, because you're going to get a lot of people complaining that they don't have their videos. And that's the result of your internet not being great. So it's really a preference thing. If you want to play with this, you can go ahead and do that. I do have other webinars that goes into greater details on how to connect these devices. So you can go ahead and watch some of those as well. Live view, external session, and then the company logo will appear on your TV. The company logo grabs it from this file here. Whatever file you put on here, it'll throw it on the TV there. Once you're done, I'm going to disable this because I'm not going to show it. Once you're done, you're going to hit the consent, submit, and that's pretty much it. I know it took a while for us to go over this whole list, but like I said, Touchpix is a software that you got to tell it what to do. Before we scan this QR code, now we're going to go and design it. And I actually want to show you guys the new stuff, right? Because I think moving forward, this is kind of where we're transitioning into. So we have our old designer. If you guys want to learn how to use the old designer, just scroll over to the end of any other webinar that I have online, and it'll walk you step by step. The new designer, I think, is actually pretty cool. This is what I want to focus on moving forward. I'm going to click on designer. It's asking me to log in, which is fine. So the new designer now, it's asking you, it's pretty user friendly on what you can do, and it's going to give you a lot of free templates, so you don't have to pay anybody to do templates for you. So you're going to tell the designer what type of event are you doing. I'm doing a video, and make sure you select whichever event you were just working on. And in my case, I was working on a webinar with today's date. So that's the event that I want the template to be applied on. And now it's giving me my selections. Template 1 is a more, it's a vertical style template where your phone needs to be in the vertical position, meaning the camera is on the top. Template 2, 3, and 4, they're landscape templates where your camera is probably better suited on the side, on its side, landscape mode. And then you have template 5, which is another vertical cropped out template for vertical positioning. I'm going to go ahead and play with, let's play with template 2. Template 1, 2, and 3 are the most popular. 1 being it's ready for like Instagram, the reels or your stories. 2 is very popular with Instagram post because it's a perfect square. And I'm a fan of template 3 because it has more of a wider angle and you can capture more, in my opinion. But for the purposes of this webinar, I'm going to go with template. Let's go with template, actually. Let's go with template 3. Once I select it, I'm going to click on use template and you'll see a silhouette right here. So this is what's brand new with Touchpix, and this is what I would recommend people really dive into. Once you have your silhouette here, Touchpix is now going to give you for free a bunch of new designs. So you're going to go over to manage design and you're going to want to go into the design library. Instead of you having, big graphic skills, which you still can and create all of these on Canva or Photoshop, Touchpix is going to give you any of these designs and you can actually, you can edit any of these designs, right? So it has them for, just to give you a quick idea, you can filter through them through wedding, baby shower, back to school, birthday, sweet 16, any of these, Christmas, anniversary. It has tons of stuff. So this is great that Touchpix is giving you this. Again, manage, design library. And these are all professional designs. They're not like something that somebody just threw together. So I think you guys will definitely be happy with this, specifically because they're free. So here, let's use this superhero party, right? So it loaded that design there, right? You can actually edit any of these or move, you can flip, duplicate, whatever you want to do, you can actually do it from here, right? Or if you want to add text, if you want to say happy birthday, Bobby, or something, go over here to the left and hit text, right? And it's going to give you a box, and that box right now is white writing. If you want to change your writing to something else, you can choose whatever color palette you want. In this case, let's try red, right? And you can actually even change your text, right? It has onboard text that you can change. Let's use something bold. And once I'm ready to type, I'm just gonna double click and it lets me edit. And now I can type in happy birthday. I'm gonna hit done. It gives you an idea of, and now I can move it wherever I want, right? So I think this is a very cool feature that a lot of people are gonna like because it's free, right? And you can actually, you can save it or you can load it. Save it means that you're going to come back to it and maybe add to it a little bit later. So let's save it. I'm going to call this boom, save preset, right? And then I'm going to go over to load Well, it's already loaded, so. Okay, that's already loaded. I'm not gonna worry about all these other features. And now what I wanna do is go back to, I'm gonna add it to my event. This is what I wanna do. Make sure you add it to your event. That's very important. And then I'm gonna return over to Touchpix. When I return over to Touchpix, this is your dashboard again. These are all my events. This is the one that we just created here. It hasn't been activated, but I want to make sure that the overlay is there. And the overlay is there on every single experience, but I'm only worried about Slo-Mo. So it's good to go. So now what you want to do is scan into it. I'm going to click on the QR code.
Before you move on, DJ, how would you upload your made overlay?
Good.
That was a question in the chat.
Good catch, Tia, because ever since I started doing this one, I keep forgetting to show that. Okay, so let's go back. So she's asking, maybe I don't want to use any of those designs and you want to upload your own, right? So what you can do is the following. You're going to want to go back into, let's go back into Designer. And for this, I'm going to use the old method. I don't think I've tried it on the new method yet. So I'm going to go into the Designer here. And to the left, right, you're going to see tabs. First, I'm going to go to Templates. I'm going to pick my template 3. This is the one that I'm working with under Slo-Mo overlays. Then I'm going to go over to Uploads on the top left. And for people that are going to have some custom stuff made for them, if you go to Custom Overlay and you hover over the question mark, these are the sizes that your designer are going to reference in creating your custom artwork. These are pixels. So since I'm working with template 3, if I was going to have something made for template 3, they need to make it in 1440 by 1072 pixels, right? And whoever designs a design for you, they're going to go ahead and do that, and then they're going to email it to you once they're done with it. You're going to download it, put it in that special Touchpix folder on your desktop, and when you're ready, you're going to click Custom Overlay, click Browse, and I'm just going to use this generic frame that somebody designed for me. I'm going to hit Open. You're going to see it pop up right here on the lower left-hand side. And once I click on it, it's going to transfer it over to the silhouette. You see, it's just a frame, right? Now, you can keep on adding items as well. Like, for example, I'm going to go where it says Custom Sticker. And I'm going to add a person's name because it was created independently. I'm going to select it, hit Open. I'm going to go all the way to the top now because that's where your stickers are located. And you can actually drag it and you can expand on it and position it wherever you want, right? And maybe I still want to add to that and hit, I'm going to hit uploads again and then do another custom sticker. And maybe this time I want to add my logo to it. I'm just going to add a Touchpix logo to it. Here it is again, sticker. And I can drop it wherever it is I want to drop it, position it wherever I want to position it. And if I'm satisfied with this, then I would hit Add Template. Does that make sense for people? So there's two ways. You can actually design your own, or you can add something that somebody made for you. I'm guessing it made sense because I hear no questions. Okay.
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
No problems. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my account, go over to events, and then I'm going to get ready to activate my QR code. But I want you guys to see, and since I'm sharing a screen, what I'm going to do is take a picture of this QR code with another phone that I have, just because you guys won't be able to see that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back into my phone. That way you guys can see the screen share. Give me 1 second here. Let me see what's going on. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to look for my camera app. So I want you guys to see, this is the QR code. I just took a picture of it. And I'm going to use this phone here to run Touchpix real quick. So, and then I'm going to just toggle over. Or maybe I can do this. I'm going to go into Touchpix on my phone. I'm going to exit the test event, and then I'm going to hit activate event. Okay, I'm going to hit activate event on my Touchpix, and it's giving me 3 options. Do I want to activate a test, a sharing station, or an active event? I'm going to go ahead and activate an active event. It's now looking for a QR code. I'm now going to position my phone, which is, there it is. It recognized the QR code, and it's now setting up the event. Right, and there it is in vertical mode. Okay, so once you scan into your event, you're pretty much telling your phone everything that you did online, you just transcribed everything over to your iPhone. That's what the QR code does. It just memorizes the settings and it sends it over to your iPhone. So now the very top has a hamburger icon with 3 lines. That's your main menu. You're going to tap on that. And we're going to tap on settings first and foremost. And from here, you're going to have some options, right? If you look at the 5th option down, it says compress. By default, it installs with medium quality. And I want to go ahead and do ultra high quality, right? There's actually another feature, but I'm not going to recommend you guys use it unless you guys feel comfortable and you guys are extremely knowledgeable about how fast your internet is. Right above that, there's an option that says apply compress. If I were to delete or disable that, it actually gives you a warning. By turning it off, it eliminates compression. It's giving you large video files, which is the best type of quality you can absolutely get from your phone, right? But in order for this to work and be able to be shared, your internet speed needs to be pretty fast. If you're in a place that your internet's spotty, please do not turn that off. Leave that back on and use one of the compressions, okay? So I'm gonna hit okay. I'm gonna acknowledge that. I think my internet's okay for now. The other thing I'm gonna show you is from this screen is once you set it to ultra high quality, you're gonna toggle to your right, and I don't have a printer, so set that to none. I'm gonna go over to camera. This is the important setting part from the camera. It gives you a few options. Front camera, back camera, GoPro or DSLR. I'm using the back camera. At the bottom, I'm focused on lens type. I want to make sure I tap on lens type. And if you're using an iPhone 11, 12, or 13, set that to ultra wide. It's going to give you a warning. Say you understood. And then you're going to go right on top of that where it says Slo-Mo speed. You're going to set your Slo-Mo speed to 1920 by 1080 at 120 frames per second. And for people that, if this is your first time on this webinar, don't let this process scare you. You only need to set this once and forget about it. The only reason you would have to reset this process is if you ever deleted the app and reinstalled it, you'd have to come back and set these settings back again. So 1920 by 1080 at 120 frames per second. There's two options. Always pick the top one. And once you set those two parameters, you're good to go. You're going to click the top arrow to the right. These are your photo effects. I'm not worried about those. We're not using photo. And these are your video effects. So I promised I was going to show you guys how to load music from 3 different locations. As you can see, audio is already in there because that was loaded from the web interface, right? I'm going to delete that audio track. The way I would delete that audio track is select it by clicking on that audio tab. A window is going to pop open. Let me move this real quick. A window is going to pop open, and I'm going to hit delete. If you guys want to use free music that Touchpix is also giving you, you're going to do the following. Click where it says add effect, and you're going to look under this list under music. Right? Once you select music, hit done. It's going to pop in the gray box. While the tab's on the gray box, you're going to click on it or tap on it. And it's telling you, in order for you to use that effect, it needs to download your music files. Hit OK. And Touchpix is now downloading 14 free music tracks that you can use. These are all instrumentals. They're all designed for slow motion. They're all feel good music. So whatever you feel best fits your event, hey, they're free. You don't have to really struggle in getting your music tracks loaded or flagged if you're going to post onto social media. I'm going to select track 1. It highlights it in bold. And now I have room for 2 other effects. What I'm going to show you from these 2 other effects are just some effects that Touchpix has. I'm going to go ahead and click add effect again. Now I'm going to be using the, let's use something different that I've never used before. I'm going to use rotate, right? I'm going to use rotate. That's the effect I want to use. I'm going to click done. And once you see the rotate effect popped into the gray box, you're going to tap on the rotate effect in the gray box. Once you tap on it, you're going to see this timeline pop up at the bottom. If I were to leave it at default, that effect will be applied in its entire video. I don't want that effect to be applied on the entire video. I only want that effect to be applied at a certain section of the video. So what I'm going to do is from the left-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and move the little dot. I want to apply that effect at 0.6. And then the right-hand side, I'm going to move it to 0.65, just a little piece of that clip. That's where I want that effect to be applied. So let's try that. Then I'm going to add one more effect. Hit effect. And let's do, I've never tried this collage. Yeah, let's use a collage and hit done. I'm going to click on collage again, because also you're going to have to set where you want it applied. I'm going to put it at the beginning, or 0.3 to 0.4. And I have 3 effects. The last thing I want to do is, do you see where it says post roll? Right? That is where you can actually have somebody create a promo video that's sized to whatever template size you're using. I'm using template 3. So if you're going to be using template 3, somebody needs to create a promo video of your business to pop up at the end, that same size that template 3 is. If you're using template 2, you're going to use a template 2 size. So I'm going to click on post roll, and whoever created this for me, send it to me via email. I downloaded it on my phone, so I have this file actually on my phone. So I'm going to click on files, and I actually named it intro, but it should be an outro. So I'm going to select it, and I loaded the file. Okay, let me how am I going to do this? Give me a second here. Okay, so now I'm going to hit go back, and we're ready to test. Give me a sec. I need to take the clamp off.
DJ,
Yeah.
quick question. You know, on this section here, shouldn't you be able to actually see the guests on this picture frame right now?
Not really. I mean, you can, if you were to go into your menu, but if you go to menu, if you go to settings, you see this option where it says live view, the very top.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If I were to enable it and then go back,
Perfect.
now I can
Thank
see.
you. Nice, thank you.
And to add to that, we've added this this exposure setting, that plus and minus. So if you're in a dark room, right, and you need a little bit more bump on your exposure, you can click on that plus and minus, and now there's a slider, right? If you increase it, it gives you a
Love
little bit more
it.
brightness.
Love
Right?
it, love it.
So it gives you that. So let me remove my bracket here so I can really do a test here. Sorry. I'm going to move it to its side now. So what I want to do now is hit record. I'm going to do something here real quick. I'm just sitting down in my office chair. 2, 1, and then I'm just going to move around here in my office chair. It's a little bit of a delay. And again, I'm choosing the uncompressed version. So let's see how that looks. And let's go from there. It's adding audio. You should see the video playback now. It's looking pixelated because of my connectivity, but I'll let you guys scan the QR code. That way you guys can get the original file. So those are the effects there. That's my promo video at the end. And what do you guys think? It all came together.
Amazing. Are you going to go through the sharing station?
Yeah, that'll be the last part. Let me share this real quick while I have, while I set that up real quick. So I'm going to click gallery real quick and tap on the gallery. And for people that are at home, I'm going to leave this up for a little bit. That way you guys can share it. Well, let me grab my iPad and let's set up that sharing station real quick. Just feel free to scan that with your camera app and it should take you to my gallery. All right, I'm gonna try to show you the sharing station portion right now. Let me see how I'm gonna do this. This is gonna be a little tricky for me to do. Okay. Were you guys able to download that file?
Yes.
Cool. Give me a sec here. I'm just switching networks. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna go back into, I'm gonna do Give me a sec here. Okay. All right. Got it up and going. Sorry about the delay, just a little tough sometimes. Okay, so this is how you set up a sharing station. I have my iPad here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on. Hopefully I don't drop it. Okay. Okay, so what I want to do now to show you how to sync up a sharing station is the following. So I'm going to use this separate iPhone on the side here, right? And this is my iPad. First thing I want you guys to do with the iPad is you're going to scan into the iPad. But if you guys recall, I've actually scanned into this iPad. Maybe I should do it from scratch. That way you guys can see the full effect here. I'm going to delete the app real quick. Remove app, delete. Then I'm going to re-download it. Okay, let me re-download it. It's re-downloading Touchpix. It's always best to see it from scratch. Let me switch networks real quick because I think it's picking up my home network, and it is. Okay, it's going a little bit quicker now. So yeah, it's always good to do it from scratch because it gives you guys the real live scenario. So I'm going to hit activate event. Now I have test, sharing station, or active. I'm going to hit sharing station. I'm going to give it permissions for the camera, and I'm going to grab it. And I'm going to scan that QR code that I took a picture of with my phone. It recognized the event. Perfect. It's setting up the event. It's asking for local permissions. It's asking for microphone permissions, Bluetooth, and camera roll. Okay. So first and foremost, once you scan into it, what I want you guys to do is go over to your iPad settings, go to the general settings. From the general settings, I want you guys to go over to general. I want you guys to go over to AirDrop. Make sure AirDrop is set to everyone. Okay. Then to the left, you're going to go down to where it says display and brightness. And then you're going to toggle to the right where it says auto lock. Make sure auto lock set to never. What that does, it prevents your iPad from falling asleep. Therefore, it doesn't cause any disconnections. Open up Touchpix again, right? Once you're here, what you want to do is tap on gallery. You're going to see a letter with a circle. You're going to tap on that letter. It's going to give you some options, and you're going to hit activate receiver. Your iPad sharing station is always the receiver. So you're going to tap on activate receiver. It turns into a wide R, right? Now you're going to go over to your phone. By the way, both of these devices, they don't need to be on the same network, but Bluetooth and Wi-Fi need to be on. They need to be on. They don't have to be, obviously your sharing station, if you can have it connected to Wi-Fi, great, but your iPhone doesn't need to be on the same network or doesn't need to be connected to the internet at all. It's just the Wi-Fi needs to be on, that's all. So from your iPhone, go over to gallery, click on the S with the circle, and on this situation, you're gonna select activate sender. You're gonna see the name of my iPad. I'm gonna select it and it says success. It's been connected. Great, cool.
What if you don't
And
see the name of your iPad?
well,
You said
then, if you don't see, it just popped up there. That little icon popped up immediately. If you don't see the name of your iPad, then you don't have your Wi-Fi or Bluetooth on. Or when you install the app, you didn't give it network privileges. So you might want to have to delete the app and reinstall it.
Did you say Wi-Fi and internet need to be on the sharing station, correct?
Wi-Fi needs to be on. So what I mean by Wi-Fi on is if you go to general, if you look at your Wi-Fi, it needs to be, it doesn't necessarily need to be connected to anything if you don't have internet, but it needs to be on. So what I mean is Wi-Fi needs to be toggled on. If it's tied to a network, fine, great. Bluetooth also needs to be on.
Okay.
Right?
On iPhone, on your iPhone, your sharing station and your record.
Correct.
Thank
So
you.
now look, I'm gonna just do another video because you guys can see I have only one video there, one video there. I'm gonna show you guys how that works. Now I can toggle away from this. I'm gonna just tap on record real quick. So I'm just gonna do a quick little video moving the camera around. Let it do its thing. It's processing the file. Applying the overlay. Okay, so now that's the file there. Now I'm gonna hit next, and we're gonna wait for that second video to pop up here. It usually takes about 30 seconds maybe for it to pop up at the longest. Sometimes it's quicker, sometimes it might be a little longer, but usually the good sign is if your R turns into a green R, that means it's connected appropriately, accurately. And now we're just gonna wait for the file to sync on over. The key part with this method and the way I like to teach it is that typically once you establish the connection, I don't want you guys to toggle away from your sharing station by going into any other apps or doing something. I did it earlier right now because you guys were asking me some questions about Wi-Fi and things of that nature. But once you have it connected and you see your first file pop up, you shouldn't toggle away from that. You shouldn't toggle away from it anymore. You should let it do its thing and make it stay there. So if this doesn't come out again, I'm gonna have to reestablish the connection. But what happens is don't toggle away from it. Leave it alone once it starts doing its thing. So let me see here. I actually want to see something here. Okay. Because it should have came in by now, but we'll figure this out right now. I'm thinking it's because I toggled away from it. Okay, let's try it again. So on this gallery here, I have 2 videos. On this gallery here, I have 1. And I know somebody asked me, well, do they need to be on the same connection? And I was trying to explain, but I did toggle away from it. And I think that's kind of an issue that people have when they're at events, is that they're playing with their sharing station. And sometimes when they do that and they toggle away from the main screen, stuff like that happens. So let's try it again and we'll see how quick it comes into play. So I'm gonna go back into Touchpix, gallery. R is the receiver. Back to the phone. It's the sender. I see the name of the iPad. It connected. Exit off of that and boom. See how fast it popped up again? Now, what I mean by when you establish the connection, I'm not going to toggle away from the screen, right? I'm going to leave it there. So now when your guests jump out of their platform, they can come over here and pick their thumbnails and they can share it whichever way they want, right? They can share it via text message. That's what they want. They can share it via Airdrop if that's what they want to do. They can do WhatsApp as well. Email. So there's tons of ways of sharing. There's tons of ways of sharing this. So, or they can do QR code if that's what they want to do as well. You can scan the
DJ One,
QR.
I have a question, but it's in reference to the Apple TV. Are you touching on that?
I'm not going to touch on the Apple TV today. I don't have it set up for today's session.
Okay.
But
No, you can watch a previous webinar. I put the link in the chat of for you to view previous webinars. At this point, we're going to take our last round of questions specific to this webinar, and then we're going to close out for the night.
anybody have
This is
questions?
Nina. I have a quick question.
Sure.
Yeah, I do have a question. I do remember at some point talking about if you've already kind of set this up and like how it looks and you want to use this for another event, how to
Give me a sec. Let me mute everybody.
If you aren't talking at the moment,
Okay, I muted everybody. Can you repeat the question one more time? Can you unmute yourself and repeat the question?
Yeah, sorry about that. If you have already set this up and you kind of like how it looks, isn't there a way to kind of copy and paste it from your list of events?
Yeah, so right now, if you guys are able to see my screen, if you're totally happy with all your settings here from this event that we just created now, and you want to use the exact same settings and you just want to concentrate on switching over your artwork, all you need to do is go to whatever event you want to copy, go over to manage. Once you click on manage, there's this middle icon here, which is called duplicate event. If I were to click duplicate event, it's going to duplicate it. Now you can name it something else. Now you can name it wedding, right? Wedding 777. And what it just did, it duplicated all the settings from this event and brought them over here. The only thing that you would need to do now is just change the artwork and the music file to something that represents whatever you just want this event to be. Everything else will remain the same. A lot of people use this because it's efficient. You don't have to go through every single step every single time. If you find your sweet spot of what your settings should be and you're comfortable and you like that, then yeah, duplicate your events moving forward. Rename them and just add a new art piece and new music file and you're done.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Where do you upload the outro videos?
The outro videos are uploaded on, let me jump back into the app real quick. So the outro videos are going to be, first of all, you're going to have to get your designer to create those for you, right? Then your designer is going to have to email them to you, right? And from your device, I would recommend you download them and save them onto your iPhone or whatever device it is that you're using. Once you do that, then what you're going to need to do is the following. I'm going to come back in here. Okay, so to go into your outros, you're going to want to do this. Let me move this icon here. The menu bar, you're going to go into settings and you're going to toggle over to video effects. The outro video is right on the right hand side where it says delete post roll. That means I already have something inserted. I'm going to delete it real quick. Yours is going to look like post roll. If you see post roll video, that means nothing's been loaded, right? So you're going to click that square box, click on it, and it's going to ask you, where do you have that file you want to load? Where is it located? And in my case, it's in my files. It's on my iPhone, and I named it intro, but it's actually an outro. And that's how easy it is to do.
Thank you. I did have one more question, and if it's one of the other videos, I'll happily go look for it. But I didn't I can't find where to like upload like those animated overlays because you can
Yes.
only upload like the PNGs.
Yeah, so the animated overlays, you're gonna have to, it depends. Shoot us an email for that. That way we can direct you to the right place. You can
And I
shoot us
put
an
a link in the chat
email.
earlier already about how to find and add the animated overlays, and I'll add it again.
Cool.
Okay, thank
Tia.
you.
Anybody else have any questions? Sounds good.
The steps that you
Go ahead.
walk through the steps that you took for. I walked the steps you took for setting up the sharing station, and in my gallery, it's not pulling for the video that I took as a test. Is a workaround that?
You know what? You're breaking up a little. If you can repeat that again. I think I caught that you tried to do a sharing station and your gallery is not showing something, is what I understood. Not sure if we lost her. Okay, well, if she comes back, then I can definitely answer it. Yeah, the sharing station is very easy. There is really no workarounds to the sharing station. It's very cut and dry. You either have your network permissions on or you've accidentally overlooked that. You need to set your iPad to the receiver and your iPhone needs to be the sender. Once you've established that connection, then the files are gonna transfer over. As long as Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are on, it's pretty bulletproof in that sense. Anybody else have any other questions?
Pretty good.
Okay, sounds good. Look, I definitely value your time. I want to thank you guys for being part of the web call today. We have these every Wednesday. They're for educational purposes. We want to help you guys exceed and succeed in your business. So please utilize these webinars for what they are. We're here, Tia and I are here to represent Touchpix to make sure that your business gets the attention it deserves, right? You are our paying customers and we want to be able to help you guys achieve your goals. But at the end, I want you guys to recognize there's also a lot of preparation that needs to happen from your end. We're only as good as you allow us to be. If you call us and you're in panic mode and full of anxiety because, quite frankly, preparation wasn't at its best, then we'll do our best to guide you. But sometimes it helps when you prepare because you put us in a situation of advantage versus a situation of disadvantage when you're in panic mode. For whatever it is, feel free to reach out to us support wise. Feel free to reach through the Facebook group. We're here to kind of just guide you guys through our experiences with the app, making sure that you guys are taken care of. This is what you're paying into. You're paying into an app that provides support, 7-day-a-week telephone call support, email support, and webinars in the sense that if you don't understand something, we'll do whatever it takes for you to get you to understand it. So value your time. Just want to wish you guys a great night. And if you guys want to join us for future webinars, just pop on in.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you, Tia. Have a great night.
Have a good one, everyone.
Appreciate it.